Hi guys, my name's Tammy DiTomaso and I'm here with Tim Hong, and we did an iWin meeting recently with some lessons from the streets, and we wanted to bring it to you, to YouTube, so that you guys can get a little bit of info and little tidbit from what we were talking about during our meetings. Chris? Okay, cut all that. Take it away, Tim.
So the first thing we talked about was interest rates. The Bank of Canada bank rate was 1%, and they just raised it recently. Their next announcements are planning to be June, July, and September. Prime rates right now are sitting roughly around 3.2%. Last time it was actually this high was back in September 2017, right after the Ontario Fair Housing Plan. So a 0.5% increase is roughly $27 on a $100,000 mortgage. So it just kind of run your numbers that when you're doing your property crunch numbers and stuff like that. So where the market's going right now and what we've seen, and this is tracking a couple of the markets that we're looking at, and specifically Hamilton. So on the slide that you'll see that's popped up right now is back in November, we saw an average sale price of roughly $809,000, and it's gained about 20% up to just under $1 million in February as the average sale price. From then, it dropped about 3.5% in March as the average sale price, and then April, it dropped roughly another roughly just under 7% to just under 900,000. So from the highs in February, it's dropped about a total about 10%, 11%. But if it were to drop another 10%, we'd be back in prices that we saw in November. And we all know that there was a lot of investors buying in November already. So although it sounds bad that there might be another 10% drop, if it does, the prices aren't actually going to be that much different, because we've seen those prices when we were buying at those prices at the same time. We're seeing the same thing in Kitchener, Waterloo area as well, is where the average sale price back in November was about $800,000, and it's gained about 20 somewhat percent to the highs of February, which was $993,000 on an average sale price. And from then, it dropped roughly just under 10% to April prices, which was about $900,000. So across the board what we're seeing is we've seen prices raise 20-25% from November all the way up to February, and they've dropped down another 10% so far. So we'll see when the market interest rates happen in June, see what happens, and then we'll go from there. So a couple examples that we're seeing actually across the board is that we're seeing sellers hold offers, but they're not getting the listing or the prices that they want. And an example here is that we saw a house in Kitchener that was a 3-bedroom, 2-bath. It was listed back at the end of March for $749. It held offers about a week later, and it didn't sell. It relisted again back April 6th for $699, so they dropped the price. They held offers again. I actually had an investor bid. We bid $726. There's 3 offers total, and the seller actually declined them all, and the listing actually got canceled. Another property, similar setup, was the same thing. This was a little bit higher price point. It was a detached with an in-law suite, ready to convert into a legal duplex. 3 bedrooms upstairs, 2 bedrooms downstairs, and 2 full baths. It was listed March 21st at $895. They held offers March 28th. They also got 3 offers. We bid just over $1 million. The seller actually rejected them all, and they actually wanted 1.2. They canceled the listing. They price changed it to 1.25 on the 29th of March, and then they canceled the listing completely because they didn't get any offers. They relisted at $999, and it's been on the market since April 8th, so it's been a few weeks already right now. And when we do get the deals, it's actually pretty good deals. So investor was looking in Guelph. They were looking at an estate sale. It was detached bungalow, good sized lot, 52 by 133, and a partially finished basement. It was listed March 31st at $849. They held offers April 8th. They actually had no offers. So we actually bid the list price $849. Seller actually countered us higher at $899. But because there was no offers and there was no competition, we said, why do we have to pay this much? Why don't we counter them again? So we countered again back at the original list price at $849, and the seller finally accepted. And based on the sales in the area right now, it's the second cheapest detached home roughly in the past month or so in that area. So there is definitely, with the market kind of slowing down and shifting, there is deals to be made. Just have to understand the price points and stuff like that to get the good deals around there. One more example, same thing in Guelph. This was a bigger home for a primary residence. It was detached, 4-bed, 2.5 bath. And the funny thing is, it was only posted on the Toronto Real Estate Board, which means that it wasn't posted on the local realtor board. It was listed for March 4th, and they held offers. And we actually, at that time, we put a bully offer in because the seller or the buyers wanted the property. There was tenants in the property, and another offer came in at the same time. It seemed like they were similar price points, but we had a specific clause in there talking about tenants and how we would deal with the tenants that actually won us the offer itself. So depending on how you, negotiate, as well as how you talk to the listing agent and what you include in your terms and clauses, you can definitely win offers at this time in this shifting market as well. Mm-hmm. Tammy has a few examples as well.
Yeah, and going back to your point about negotiating, we actually had a property recently where my clients wanted to offer on this house. This was a little bit different. As you know, we work with a lot of investors, but we also have some that want to do, or they'll live in the one unit and rent at the other unit, house hacking they call it. We also have some other investors that want us to help buy and sell them their home, their personal residence, which I'll get to an example in a second. But we did have a recently where we had offered on a property. And it came down to us and another offer. We both had already raised our prices at this point. We were at our top dollar. I believe the other side was too. And the agent had called me and she said, basically, you guys are neck and neck, almost like identical. And I'm going to put you on speaker here. Maybe you can let me know why we should pick you. So it was a little bit, a little awkward at the moment, but it gave me a good opportunity to go back to what we used to see years ago when we actually got to negotiate and we actually had to sell our buyer to the sellers and so on. So even in a market where we saw, multiple offer situations and offers being accepted solely on price, we are seeing that shifting a little bit, which is what we're noticing in the market, even with pricing and then how houses are getting listed, and then even this negotiation tactics as well. So that one there, she had put me on speaker. Won't give away all the tips and everything that I had said to sell my buyer, but good news, we won it. So everything was great there. So that was just interesting to go back and be able to do that, which was great. Another story too recently, based on prices, when Tim's talking about what we're seeing in the market and how people have been changing their prices. I did have a client who just in the fall, so going back to those numbers that Tim was talking about maybe last November, we were seeing prices, let's say Hamilton Mountain bungalows selling for the high 700s, mid to high 700s. And we were able to score a great property for our client because we were looking at things a little bit differently in the property as far as an investment goes. So if we had other investors wanting to come in and turn this property into a legal duplex, there may have been a few bumps in the road, but because we've been doing this a lot and we know the rules and the bylaws and the things that we can do to fix some of these issues, we were able to move forward with offering. Also, at the time, because mortgage interest rates are low and money is cheap to borrow, we would see a lot of homeowners going towards the houses that maybe were already a little bit done up and willing to spend a higher amount on houses that were ready to go. So this house, even though it looked really nice in the pictures, needed a lot of work. So maybe some people were a little bit turned off. But again, we knew we were going to do a renovation. So in a market where we were seeing those mid-high sevens, we were able to score this property for under $700,000. So that was fantastic. We are turning it into a legal duplex, and it's actually going to hit the market probably in a couple months. Legal duplex for sale. So if anyone's interested in that, feel free to reach out. A little selfish plug, why not? And then lastly, just another story. This one here is a little bit more touching that we see. These are some of the stuff that happens on the back end that you guys don't always get to hear what happens with these deals and so on. So I had a client of ours who's an investor asked us to help their mom sell their home, sell her home. And absolutely, we do that. Happy to help. And went out to the house and we were talking about numbers and what we were seeing, where the sale prices were. And at the beginning of the year, that's when we started seeing the sale prices were going up quite a bit. So this one here we listed in February. When we were looking at the prices, we were thinking around $850 it might sell for. Then it started to climb to maybe $9, and then just as we listed, another one sold for $950. And this was in that January, February time frame of 2022 where we started to see the prices of the houses climb. So when we went into this, that weekend, it happened to be a really bad snowstorm. So that's where things were, out of our control. That can work against us. But we had a really bad snowstorm, and then we had an ice storm. So my lockbox was frozen, couldn't even get it open. But so we had listed the house, holding offers for that weekend. The mother, we'll call her, who lived in the home and the house, she went to go stay with her children for the weekend while we held offers. I also want to add that the father, who was in a nursing home at the time, he wasn't there at the house. So the plan here, what we did was when we held the offers, we had a preemptive offer that had come in. And so typically when you have a preemptive offer come in, it's going to be pretty aggressive, enough that they're going to say, hey, we want you to take our offer and not continue to show it to anybody else during the rest of this weekend or time frame that we had it listed. So this one here, the reason that they really wanted to push for the preemptive offer is they needed a really quick closing because they already sold their house. They sold their house and now they need to purchase a house, but they're in a market where there wasn't a whole lot of houses for sale. Another reason why the prices were climbing so high. So they were almost desperate. They needed that. So at this point, we had to notify all the other showings. And I told my buyer, I said, it's completely up to you, but now this is about 3 days in. We did have this snowstorm. The chances of us having so many more showings following afterwards, it might be worth it really to go ahead. We'll take a look at these offers. And that's what we did. At the end, we ended up having 4 offers in total. So we had our first original offer I just mentioned that had come in, and it was strong. It was on the higher end of the numbers that I had mentioned. And then they wanted the quick closing date. Now, my client, who's elderly, was looking for a longer closing date. She had to, clean up the house, not clean up the house, but pack up the house with the help from her son and the family members, again, her husband not being there at the house. So we were hoping for a longer closing date, but it is what it is. And then 2 other offers came in, and to put it bluntly, they were terrible. They weren't great offers, but we're still appreciative to the offers that came in. And then the 4th offer that came in was actually higher than the first one, and it had a longer closing date. So we're like, wow, this is fantastic. At which point I turned around and I gave both of them one more option just to say, do you guys want to make any changes? Changes were made on both ends, and we ended up selling the house for $1,002,000 with a long closing date. So at that point, I was talking with our seller, who was actually talking with her children, and she called me and she said she's crying right now. She was just so happy and so excited. So I know it's a market where the prices were selling higher, so there's nothing to really brag about that. You see a lot of agents bragging about that. But the thing is, for me, this was just super touching that we were able to lock in a great price for them, but also the closing date, which was really important and it relieved a lot of stress for her. So that was great. As you can see in the picture here, there is her with her 2 grandchildren. They wrote down the price on the piece of paper and sent that over. So these touching stories, they mean a lot to us too, but these are some of the things that happen on the back end that we just wanted to share with you. So stay tuned to hear some more stories. We're going to be coming back with some more. Don't forget to subscribe. And that's it from us.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. All right.
Thank you for watching. If you want to learn how to invest in real estate from scratch, my team teaches beginners how to use the #1 investment strategy that I personally use in a virtual free training class every month. Go to investortraining.ca/YouTube to register for our next class. The link is also in the description as well. I publish at least 2 to 3 videos a week here, so subscribe if you want to keep learning from seasoned investors like myself and my guests. And if you're just starting out, feel free to ask questions and comment below, and I do the best to answer each of those comments and questions myself. Again, if you're ready to learn the nitty-gritty about real estate investing from a professional investor, register for our next virtual class. That's at investortraining.ca/YouTube. Thanks again for watching. See you in the next video.